Alrighty then. Welcome everyone to Straight Buckets. I'm here with Zach in Toronto,
How's it going?
and I've also got Brandon in Connecticut.
What's up, people?
Awesome. All right. So we're gonna start out today's show. First off, did you guys see the scuffle between the Lakers and the Bucks yesterday?
I did catch that. That was getting a little crazy. It's more contact than we usually see in the league nowadays. So,
Exactly. What do you think, Zach?
D'Angelo Russell kind of taking back what he did, trying to break up the fight that he started. Quite impulsive.
Did you
was
guys?
it him or was it Young?
Young pushed Monroe, and then Monroe pushed Young, and then Russell pushed Monroe.
Okay, and then everybody just got into it.
Everyone just got into it. And then, did you guys hear, oh, crap. How am I spacing on his name? The coach, head coach.
Luke Walton. Afterwards,
Absolutely.
he was talking about one of the, I guess, the coaches, the assistant coaches or something like that, had touched one of his own Lakers players. He was like, keep your damn hands off my players.
Exactly.
Really?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
He said, you can touch your own players, don't touch mine.
And he's like, well, if you guys are going to play that way, I know plenty of people in LA who would want that job.
Yeah.
Anyways, so let's start out. Let's start out with our first quarter. Our first quarter topic today is who should win the Rookie of the Year in a very underwhelming class of rookies this year in the NBA. To start out, let's hear from you, Brandon. What do you think?
Well, to start off with, I guess I would have really liked to see Ben Simmons actually get his chance, but due to injury, never got that chance. We'll have to wait till next season. But I don't know. Speaking of that team of the Sixers, they do have a lot of good candidates with Joel Embiid and Saric, but I'm not going to put Embiid in this conversation because he just hasn't played a good portion of the year since his injury. So I'm going to go with Malcolm Brogdon from the Milwaukee Bucks. And I'm saying that because for a rookie, he is top 5 in points, assists, free throws, three-point percentage, his field goal percentage, and his steals. And he's first in the assists and first in steals. And for a rookie, he's shooting 41%. And I think right now, he is a rookie and doesn't take as many as he does, but Steph is around 39, 40, so he's shooting better than Steph.
It's a lot easier when you're taking less shots, though.
Yeah, very true, very true. And his field goal percentage, he's in the top 5. And Embiid is in the top 5 as well. He's like second or third. But Embiid, a majority of his shots are right next to the rim. They're dunks, they're hook shots. A lot of Malcolm Brogdon is shooting on the perimeter and of that such like that. And for his free throw percentage is 85. And for a rookie, it's pretty good, And he's a guard. He's 6'5", and he's on a team that doesn't shoot particularly well from the three-point line, from the free throw line. And I think he's my pick for Rookie of the Year as of right now.
Okay. What do you think, Zach?
All right, so like most NBA fans, I was pretty devastated when hearing about Joel Embiid once again getting injured. I think he was the clear front runner at the time. Look at his stats. They had something per 100 possessions. He was putting up numbers of the likes of Hakeem or even Jordan. I don't even understand how that's possible, but that's the kind of year he was having. Unfortunately, I think you need to reward consistency, and that's why I also choose Malcolm Brogdon. I remember seeing him last year play college ball at Virginia. I went to a game in the Elite Eight in Chicago, and he's a real leader on the court, and I think that translated to the NBA really well. He's averaging 10 points, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists, and I think he's really making Milwaukee more consistent as a team. Maybe the record's not showing that, but inconsistent bigs like Greg Monroe, John Henson, they all seem like they're coming together at this point of the year. And for that reason, I'm also going to choose Malcolm Brogdon of the Milwaukee Bucks.
All right. I find that as an interesting choice personally because I feel like both Joel Embiid and his teammate Dario Saric are more deserving of the award. I agree that although Embiid has been injured, even then I still want to give him the award because he was the best rookie this year to play in the NBA. Rookie of the year, I know year consists of the whole season, but that being said, I still think that he deserves it. However, the media might not vote him through because of that, because he was injured for most of the season, because he just hasn't played nearly as much. But just saying, he had a 24.2 player efficiency rating, which would be top 15 in the league right now, ahead of both DeMar DeRozan and Stephen Curry. Not only that, he averaged 20 points a game and nearly 8 rebounds a game in his 31 games that he played. And that's almost half of the season if you look at it. And he was a defensive powerhouse, posting 2.5 blocks a game, which is tied with the league leader, Rudy Gobert of the Utah Jazz, and a 99.1 defensive rating, which would put him third in the category, even in front of Defensive Player of the Year candidate favorite, Draymond Green. So just saying right now, if it could be him, it would be. But Dario Saric is the clear runner-up, in my opinion, not Malcolm Brogdon, because he's been averaging 20 points per game since February 8th for the past 2 months, and he's been averaging 9 rebounds and 4 assists in the past 10 games. That's because he's been getting finally a bigger role with the Sixers now that Embiid is injured, and since he's been starting games, he's been like shooting lights out, and he's been doing a great job with a larger role with the Sixers. And that being said, he's been the most consistent, in my opinion. Even though Brogdon's been lighting it up lately, I don't think he's edged out Saric for the award yet. But he potentially could. What do you guys think about Saric?
Well, Todd, this is where I'm going to have to disagree with you. I think Saric has been consistent since February 8th, like you said, but before that, I would see him go out there and shoot 0 for 11 on any given night. I'd see him, and I understand that he now has a bigger role in the offense, and he's thriving because of that. But Brogdon, a second-round pick, who has to now almost lead a team of inconsistent shooting, they're in the playoff race, and you have to reward that. Where's Philly? They're at the bottom of the standings.
What do you think, Brandon?
I gotta agree with Zach over here. He has been playing well lately, but it's not as if Milwaukee's running up the standings, but they are getting wins while Milwaukee is still struggling. I'll give them credit. The other night they did compete very well with Golden State, but then again, that's the conversation we're going to have next segment with someone they're missing that might be a little important to them. You can make the argument for either or. But like Zach, I'm still going to stick with Brogdon. I just feel like what he's been doing for this season with that team is he's been doing a good job, and he's shooting exceptionally well for, like I said before, for a team that just shoots underwhelmingly, And I just, he's just behind Saric in scoring for the season at least. I know as of recently, since Embiid's gone down, he's at a higher clip. But then again, look Saric is probably their main option at this point. And when you look at Milwaukee, they have, the Greek freak. So it's kind of hard to find your places to get the ball here and there. So I think for the amount of times he is getting the ball, he's producing at a pretty high level himself.
All right, I guess we'll have to wait to the end of the season to see who's right. But I don't know if this holds any weight. But since I've been playing 2K lately, and I've started from today, sim to the end of the season, Saric wins the Rookie of the Year award. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, good discussion. Let's go on to the next second quarter. We're looking at a new topic here. And that topic would be looking at which contending team is more impacted by a key injury to a key player, and that would be Kevin Durant and Kyle Lowry. So let's start with Zach. What do you think? Who is most impacted by missing their key player?
All right. The immediate reaction would be that Durant is obviously the bigger loss to the Warriors than Lowry is to the Raptors, because of how poorly the Warriors have been playing in his absence. But you also have to look at things this way. The Warriors were so successful last year without Durant. I think we remember the kind of regular season they had. But you have to remember that they're more than capable of getting back to that level. You're not going to, from going from one of your top scoring options to not having it anymore, it's going to take a little while for things to click. But I think it'll be a lot quicker for them to catch old habits than it'll be for the Raptors to transition to life without Kyle Lowry, at least until the playoffs.
Okay, Brandon, retaliation. What do you think?
To retaliate, well, if we look at it like this, the Warriors are easily in the tougher conference, and I think we can all agree with that. As great as the upper part of the East has been playing, such as Cleveland, Washington, and Boston, so is Toronto. It's just there's just so much inconsistency at the top of the Eastern Conference that even with Lowry not in the lineup, I don't know to what extent that truly affects them. I mean, it gives DeRozan the chance to score the ball more, and he's been doing a great job of that all season. They've made the addition of Ibaka around All-Star break, and they also made the addition of PJ Tucker from when they traded him from Phoenix. So they haven't missed too much of a beat as of recently, and they're still in that around the 3, 4, 5 spot or so. So as long as they keep a top 4 spot, they should be fine. The reason I'm choosing, which may seem as the obvious choice, is Kevin Durant, is because you're losing a guy that gave you 25 points a night, almost 5 assists, and about 8 rebounds. This team, since Durant has gone down, has posted a 500 record, which is, even though it's only an 8-game span and it's kind of small, I mean, it's kind of telling. I mean, they lost against Boston. They lost against Chicago. They lost against the Timberwolves, and they lost against the Spurs. One interesting thing that's gone on in that stretch without Durant, since he doesn't have that 25 points a game anymore, is that their season average is 116 points a game. And since he's been out, they've only averaged 102. And in that 8-game span of those 4 losses they had, 3 of the games, which are Boston, Chicago, and the Spurs, they've posted their 3 lowest scoring averages of the season, 80, 85, 86, and 87. And now I know the Spurs game, they didn't have all of their players, but at the same time, San Antonio wasn't playing with Kawhi. And I also think I could be mistaken, but I don't think LaMarcus Aldridge was playing in that game either.
He wasn't.
So, I mean, it's mano y mano, and it was kind of more so like bench versus bench in that game. You know, it was a battle of the benches, and San Antonio just obliterated them. So I know they have a lot of talent on that team, but you're also missing a pretty big defensive presence, because Kevin Durant averaged about, let me see, he was their leader in blocks, I believe, on the team.
Correct.
He averaged, 1.9 blocks? Oh, no, that's not right. 1.6 blocks a game. And, I mean, that's a pretty big mishap there, because they don't have the same size they did last year. You know, Zaza's there, but he's no defensive stopper. You have JaVale, but his minutes are sparingly here and there when Kerr decides to play him, and he kind of picks up a good amount of fouls. So my pick would be Kevin Durant for that category.
Let's hear a rebuttal, Zach.
All right, so you're 100% right. Everything you said regarding Durant's importance to the team is spot on, but I am going to stick to my opinion for a couple reasons that I'm about to tell you. You look at a team like the Golden State Warriors, and they have reinvented basketball. I have not seen a team shoot so many threes over the past couple years, ever. It's getting out of control. Good for them. The Raptors, on the other hand, they have very limited outside scoring. But when they have Kyle Lowry, at least they have some outside scoring. Without Lowry, we have no three-point shooters. We're almost making Ibaka take four threes a game. Not many things wrong with that, but you would kind of wish you could have a guard who could score from outside. Lowry's averaging 23 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists. Some pretty absurd numbers, if you ask me, having probably the best season of his career. And the Raptors are trying to fight for a top 2 seed in the East, or at least a top 3. The difference between the East and the West is that, or at least for the Raptors, being in the Eastern Conference, they don't want to play the Cavaliers in the second round. They want to make another Eastern Conference Finals run. While on the Warriors, I see them as a team that can finish anywhere in the Western Conference standings and still win the whole thing.
I believe that's a fair point. However, there are matchups that could give the Warriors a fit. With that being said, with Durant being gone, I feel like the Warriors need to lock up that number 1 seed in order to have the best path to the finals. Otherwise, they won't. It really depends a lot on what seed they get. I could see them. It all depends also where the Jazz and the Nuggets end up in the standings to see which matchup they would get in the first and the second round, because we know very well that they're either facing the Rockets or the Spurs in the conference finals. I feel like that's something that's very well known. I feel like that's something we can all agree on. Maybe the Jazz are in the mix, but I really don't think that they're going to make it to the Western Conference Finals. However, without Durant, I do not know if the Warriors will be good enough down the stretch, missing, like Brandon said, all those, their leader in points, their leader in rebounds and blocks. Without that, it's hard to compensate, especially with a thin bench that the Warriors have.
Here's another thing, if I may intervene. As great as Stephen Curry has been the last 2 seasons, especially last year with his unanimous MVP, who has been considerably viewed as the best player on this Warriors team as of this season?
Draymond Green.
Really?
I think so.
I would say Kevin Durant.
You agree, right?
I do agree, and I understand.
I thought you meant after Kevin Durant and Steph Curry.
No. Yeah, sorry.
Brandon, I understand your point, but look at things this way. You still have 3 All-Stars.
You do, but you're also playing in a much tougher conference.
You still have scorers on the outside and scorers on the east side. You're still going to most likely finish with the first or second seed.
Wait, you said you have scorers on both the outside and inside for Golden State?
I think Draymond Green is a good scorer on both the outside and the inside.
He plays a lot of pick and roll with his scoring. He's not more so the guy you're dumping it down to who can get you, points in the paint. I mean, if you look at a team like Toronto, you have a guy, not so much with Ibaka, but he has that ability. He could also stretch the floor. He is a stretch 3, which other than Draymond really stretch 4, and other than Draymond really, Kevin Durant's not there, so they don't really have that in Golden State. What I
meant to say is that you have mid-range shooters and you have outside scoring from the 3 or even beyond if we're talking about Steph Curry.
Okay.
My point here is that without Lowry, we have no outside scoring, and almost every play is going to be a DeRozan mid-range or an outside shot by Ibaka, or Ibaka making things easier for Valanciunas down low. But the Raptors losing Lowry could very well finish with a 5 or 6 spot in the East, or even lower. I don't want to think about that, but that's possible. While the Warriors, they can really connect very quickly. You know how loaded their starters are.
You're very well right.
I know their bench is not as quality as it was last year, but those starters can accomplish big things.
And it's not up to par as of Toronto's at this point. And here's another big thing, alluding to more to Todd's point with the playoffs coming up. Lowry is expected back. Kevin Durant, they don't have a timetable for him. They said after his injury, about a month and a half or so, they would reevaluate. That does not mean he will return anytime soon. And if, like Todd's saying, if they get an unfavorable matchup in that first round, to be honest, if the Thunder, if they do match up with them, could be a very unfavorable matchup. Because if you look at their matchups, a lot of the games they played against the Thunder is first half, sometimes deep into the third quarter. Russell was keeping the games close. It wasn't until Durant blew the roof off when he was, because throughout the 4 matchups they played, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but his 3-point per shooting has been off the charts. His shooting anywhere on the court when they play the Thunder are off the charts. He's averaging, I think, like almost 30 points a game or even more. And, they may not even get him back. And if they do match up with an angry Russell, I don't know about their chances as much. He might push them 6, might push them 7. I don't know.
All right, guys. Well, just to add on to maybe Zach's point as well, though, with that being said, the Raptors need Lowry because they literally have no source of 3-point shooting other than him. You get the occasional hot guy, but also I feel like Stephen Curry, he's been cold all season. I mean, he's been doing all right. He gets his scoring in, but it's never been this bad in the past 3 years. So if he's got to get hot sometime. Listen, the guy keeps on pulling the trigger, and he has the green light from Steve Kerr. It's got to connect sometime. He hasn't, he's not a different player from last year, in my humble opinion. He has to start getting hot sometime. Him and Clay will connect, and I will think that they will be able to get some sort of, push with that starting core, like Zach was saying. So it's really hard for me to see which one is more affecting their team. But I mean, they're both really losing, either their second or their first best scorers. So really, you just gotta pay attention to that, and we'll see what comes down the line.
If I may just add one final point from my end, I think a team like the Raptors, with the with now Ibaka and Tucker, like you mentioned here, you put Lowry back in that equation, and I think we have one of the best defenses in the league. I think when Lowry's healthy, I always see him getting in elite point guards' faces, making them take tough shots. He's one of the league's leaders in steals. I just think individually, the loss of Kyle Lowry burdens the Raptors more than the loss of Kevin Durant burdens the Warriors down the stretch. If Durant misses the entire playoffs or even a conference finals or a second round or whatever, then I'm going to have to agree with you, but we don't know what his fate is. So as of right now, I'm going to have to choose Lowry.
All righty. Well, good conversation, guys. We'll just have to see when it comes playoff time, when it comes time for them to return. We'll see exactly what kind of impact their injuries had on their teams. All right. So now we're going to move into the third quarter for one of our segments that we're going to start up and probably keep consistently is splash or brick. Now, when we say splash, obviously we're agreeing with the statement that I will read. If we say brick, then we're disagreeing. That being said, the first statement, let's see here. First statement, Steve Kerr resting Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Andre Iguodala was really actually just to have them rest. What do you think, Brandon?
Well, can you see, hold on? Can you guys see me on your end?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to go with brick. And that's saying because this is in terms of why they rest him, or this is the exact Spurs game we're talking about?
The why.
For the Spurs game, right?
Yeah.
I'm calling brick on that. I'm calling that false. Reports from Steve Kerr were saying going into that trip that they were going to rest them regardless at San Antonio. I believe that's a brick because they had lost Kevin Durant. They were losing momentum. And it was this highly touted Saturday night game that the NBA's been boasting about on ESPN with those commercials all season long. And they were looking for a really big game on that Saturday night. And I don't think Steve Kerr thought they really had the chance. I mean, they blasted them the first night of the season on opening night in their gym. And I think this whole time they had been getting hot waiting for this matchup. But I don't think they ever anticipated Kevin Durant going down. And with that being said, they were just losing so much momentum. I just feel that they weren't ready for this matchup. And he played the safe card to say, like, oh, you won't get the better of us again. So we'll sit our guys.
Perfect. Zach, what do you say? Hold it up.
I agree with Brandon once again. I'm going to say brick. This is Steve Kerr not having confidence in his team. He's scared to get humiliated again, but if I'm correct, wasn't Kawhi Leonard not playing?
That's right.
Wasn't LaMarcus Aldridge not playing?
That's right.
You have 3 All-Stars against what? Pau Gasol and a very deep bench?
Yeah, that's true.
Or at least what should have happened. But once again, we have Steve Kerr needing to protect his perfect image. And I think at this point in the season, you have to assert your power. You have to show the league that you can win without Durant if you want to win another championship. If you want your players to start taking cuts in their contracts and you want to start winning championships, you have to start acting a little more confident, especially Steve Kerr. I don't care if he made this decision a month ago. You can't rest your guys against the San Antonio Spurs. You can't do something that Greg Popovich does a lot. You can't steal Popovich's thing.
Okay, I'm going to agree with you guys. I'm going with the brick. Here's why, though. Here's really why I think that Kerr did this. The Golden State Warriors, by the end of the season, will have been the team to travel the most out of the whole NBA. That being said, they were going through their toughest travel stretch of the season, and they will have traveled, I don't remember the exact number. I think it's like something like 30,000 miles more than the next team, which was the Sacramento Kings.
Wow.
And the reason why is because the league this last offseason, or just recently, had a new TV deal. And that being said, they had more national TV slots to fill, and I mean, who better to fill them with than the Golden State Warriors? And a marquee matchup like the Spurs and the Warriors is what everyone's anticipating all season. They're like, I want to see the Spurs and Warriors play. And yet Steve Kerr's like, haha, nope. And so he rests his big guys, he rests his best players, takes them, just sits them down and says, all right, how about your marquee matchup now, huh? I think it was a message clear to the league, just like Popovich did with the Heat, and when he rested his big three when they went to Miami, way back when the LeBron was still in the big three. All I'm saying is that, Kerr lately has gotten a lot more political in his public image, and I think that he's a lot more outspoken than he was in his first 2 seasons as a Warriors head coach, and he this season finally made it. He finally made a statement. That being said, we have to move on to the next one. We have to be quick. Just 1 or 2 statements. We only have about 10 minutes left. So let's forego the rest of brick and splash and brick. We'll address those topics maybe next week. And let's end with the biggest conversation argument in the league right now. That is, who is this year's MVP? I'm going to start us out. You guys have been talking quite a bit. I want to get my 10 cents in real quick. And I'm going to start you guys out with the MVP this year in the NBA is undoubtedly James Harden.
Thank you.
You may agree, you may disagree. I will tell you why. First off, let's just start. Look at his starting lineup. Patrick Beverley, Trevor Ariza, Ryan Anderson, and Clint Capella. Nobody in that lineup really gives him much. Let's be honest. If you look at Kawhi, he has Tony Parker, Danny Green, LaMarcus Aldridge, Pau Gasol. Those are great players. LeBron James is Kevin Love, J.R. Smith, Kyrie Irving, Tristan Thompson. He's got a great team. James Harden is doing this single-handedly. He has maybe Eric Gordon, six-man, Lou Williams, just after the trade deadline, just because of the trade deadline. But really, he is the best. He leads the league in win shares, assists, free throws. He also scores, he scores about, 28 points per game. I'm not exactly sure. But he's had the most 40-point triple-doubles this year, even though there's Mr. Triple-Double with Russell Westbrook. And so let's look at as well. If you look at the Cavs-Rockets game, he destroyed the Cavs. 37 points, 11 assists, 10 rebounds, a block on Kyrie for a key basket in the game, even though he's not known for his defense, and a steal. This guy is playing out of his mind. The Rockets have a better record than the Cavaliers, and the Cavaliers have the weaker conference, and they're the 3rd seed in the West. No one expected this. James Harden is freaking amazing, and I feel like his key stat is right here. His usage percentage is 8%. 8% less than that of Russell Westbrook. So just for that reason, I'm just going to drop the mic right now. Russell Westbrook is the MVP of this league this season.
Russell Westbrook or James Harden?
Sorry, James Harden.
Okay.
My bad. All right. Let's hear it from Zach.
All right, so you're absolutely right. Without Harden's mind-boggling numbers and his mind-boggling averages, this Rockets team would probably be a lottery team. But when I think of most valuable player, and you think of most valuable to your team, everyone's obviously going to say LeBron James, but that's not what I'm arguing. I'm arguing who is the most valuable statistically for the regular season. And I'm going to have to go with Russell Westbrook, and I'm going to explain why. I'm not a huge fan of the idea that we've seen it year in and year out. I think Harden got snubbed a couple years ago. I think having a high record should not automatically decide if you win MVP or not. We've seen with all of these past MVPs that their teams have had really nice records, and I get it. A lot of them are the reason why, but a lot of them might not have been as statistically effective as other people who have way less support around them. I get it. And I also think Harden is on a below average team in terms of their production. I think Harden's roster has players with way better potential. I mean, yeah, I think Westbrook's roster has players with way better potential. Oladipo, Adams, they're all still so young. They just signed a huge contract. But I think they're underperforming. And I think that with his usage rate and his ability to play both ends of the floor night in, night out, and he's doing that all year, and there's no signs of him slowing down, I think you just have to reward that. It almost just seems like he's chasing that award.
Interesting. Oh, well, here's my argument. I agree with Todd. I will go with James Harden. One of my biggest reasons is he's playing in the similar offense that about 10 years ago Steve Nash played in, and he's averaging just for the majority of the season up to about like these last 2 weeks, he was averaging more assists in this season than Steve Nash ever did in any of his seasons, which is pretty impressive. When we think of Steve Nash, he's more of a pass-first guard. And we think of James Harden, I mean, he just got moved to point guard this season just so he could have the ball in his hands more. And we think of him as more of a scorer, but he has been assisting at a high rate. One thing that I know you haven't, but one argument that a lot of people love to make, which bothers me a lot, is that Russell Westbrook averages a triple-double. And as impressive as the stat is, and as impressive as how many he's accumulated this season, I think it's the most overrated statistic in the NBA that we have as of right now. Because, Russell Westbrook has 34 triple-doubles. Well, James Harden has 18. So let's not act like Russell Westbrook has all the triple-doubles in the league. And just because Russell Westbrook has 34 triple-doubles, and even though he's about 16 ahead of Harden, it's not as if they're the only two getting triple-doubles. I mean, this year there's been the most triple-doubles in league history. We're over 80 triple-doubles this season, which is the most like I said, in league history. So I'm going to go with Harden more so to Todd's point. I think the talent that he has is I think they're kind of comparable to Oklahoma City, maybe a little higher. But against your point, winning does matter in this league. And James Harden can find his team in the top three. Maybe if Golden State continues to slip, maybe he actually can get his team up to the top two. And if he can keep himself in that top three, top two area, I think he deserves the MVP over Russell's team. That's, kind of barely over 500. I mean, I don't have their team record in front of me, but I know the Rockets have a much higher, more wins in their season than the Thunder do, and I think that accounts for a lot.
You're absolutely right. Record is very, very important, and that's what sets up an easier path in the playoffs. But my argument before was more towards MVPs in the past couple of years, excluding Stephen Curry's couple of MVPs. I'm talking a little bit further back. I'm thinking about these players getting it over other players, and the runner-ups may have had better statistics, but because these players were on a better team, they got it. I think what Harden's done for his team this year has been remarkable. I think if Westbrook doesn't win it, or Harden doesn't, I think it's one or the other. But in this situation, I can't put Harden ahead of Westbrook just because of his team's record.
All right, well, there we have it. Looks like we're split on that, but we'll see at season's end once again who actually wins that MVP. And for now, we're running out of time, so we got to finish up here. But this has been the first episode of Straight Buckets, and we've got Brandon, Zach, and I'm Todd. And thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for listening. You have a good one.